It is the center of the football universe right here in Indiana because you've got the Indiana Hoosiers, number 2 in the country. Big win yesterday against UCLA. And we just saw the Indianapolis Colts absolutely destroy the Tennessee Titans 38-14. And so it is 8-0 for the Hoosiers, 7-1 for the Indianapolis Colts. How about it? Let's talk about it. Glad to have you on board for this edition of the Sports Rush Live. This is the new home of the Sports Rush. For those of you that have followed us on radio, we hope you continue to follow us here on YouTube. You know, I ran into some people last night at casino night for Purdue Fort Wayne men's basketball, and they said, used to listen to the show all the time, really miss it. Really sorry that it's not on the radio. It was such a great thing for our community that you recognize so many of our community sports, our community athletes, and we just enjoyed having you on the air every day to talk some local sports. And I said, you know what? It's still around. It just, instead of being Monday through Friday, it's now on the weekend. We get about an hour show. You can always get the clips. You can always get a replay of our live show if you miss it, or if you want to go back and check it out. But you got to share it with your friends, please. Please, please, please let people know, because it really breaks my heart that people miss the show, and yet there's no way for me to reach out to them and let them know this is where the show now exists. And so we kind of count on you to do our marketing for us. And I know it's a cheap way to promote the show, but it's the only way we have to promote the show right now. If you can just let your friends know, share this channel, make sure you comment about it on, if you're watching on X, whatever you can do to help us out. We would really appreciate that. And it all starts with being a subscriber. So if you can go to our YouTube channel, which is at Brett Rump, BRETTRUMP, and make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you click the like. Make sure you leave comments. All of those things are important in the algorithm. They're going to help us, and hopefully they will get us some more exposure, and more people will find out that we actually do have a show. But anyway, appreciate you being with us on this Sunday night. Adam Lundy is on location, and unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to join us. We were counting on him trying to find a place to get some service. He's having some trouble getting cell service. He actually was at the Colts game today, so we were going to get a report live from Indianapolis from Adam. That was one of our big surprises on the show tonight. Unfortunately, Adam is not going to be able to connect with us, but he enjoyed a good one today. We've got a lot to talk about, and we've got your comments, and we will check out your comments. Right now, Ryan weighing in. Another great weekend with the Colts and IU watching each other on tape. Maybe they're stealing from each other. You know, I do think success breeds success. And I think when you look at college programs, high school programs, it doesn't matter. Professional teams, even when they see others in their town, their community that they see practice or they have acquaintances with, and you see them being successful, it just gives you added confidence. It also gives you some motivation because you don't want to be the loser in town. And so if they're winning, like the Pacers did, and then the Fever had a successful season, teams like the Colts, they want to win too. And then you've got the Indiana Hoosiers who want to prove it's not a fluke, that last year was for real. And I think they have proved that with a big exclamation point. By the way, favorites are 8-2 today, according to Mr. Vegas. Man, Mr. Vegas, I got to tell you, I had a parlay today. All I needed was Daniel Jones to get into the end zone. And I know that's kind of a far stretch, but I had to have something that gave me improved odds on my parlay. And I thought Daniel Jones, there's a chance on a quarterback sneak. The Colts like to run that from inside the 2-yard line. Maybe even a little bit of a scramble to dive into the end zone or race to the pylon. I was just hoping somehow Daniel Jones would find the end zone. That's all I needed on my parlay. And I'm trying to see if I've got it here. I've got the copy of the parlay. I had Jonathan Taylor as an anytime touchdown scorer. He scored 3 times. I had Michael Pittman to go over 30 yards receiving. He had 95, almost over 100. Tyler Warren, 30 yards receiving. He ended up with 54 or 53. And I had Jonathan Taylor to rush for over 70 yards, and he ended up with 153 yards rushing. So I was right there. The other bet I had was Daniel Jones, anytime touchdown score. Ouch, didn't get it. It's the way the old parlays work. You can be great 4 out of 5, but if you don't get all 5, you get nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's what I got out of my parlay. But giving it another shot tonight. I won't even tell you what I bet, but I'm closely watching the Pacers tonight. Might have something to do with the over under. But man, Bengals. Oh, Mr. Vegas had a teaser on the Philadelphia and Cincinnati. Yeah, Bengals. What on earth? Talk about the Bengals being the Bungles today. They bungled that one. Lost to the winless New York Jets. Jets pick up their first win of the season against the Bengals. And the Dolphins got a win. So, the Colts took care of business against a pretty weak Tennessee team, but there were a couple of weak teams that found their ways into the victory column today with the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins were convincing winners over the Falcons, who the Colts will be playing in a couple of weeks. So Colts 7-1. What a win for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll tell you what, the combination of Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor is as dangerous a 1-2 punch as you've got anywhere in the league right now. And I know you look at teams like Kansas City and you think they've got multiple weapons and now they're healthy. Yeah, they're kind of formidable. And then you've got Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And so, yes, they're formidable. But I'll tell you what, the way Daniel Jones is playing, he's playing at an MVP level. Jonathan Taylor's running the football as well as he maybe ever has as an Indianapolis Colt. The offensive line, I think, is playing the best football I've seen with the Colts offensive line in a long time. And I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Bortolini and Gonsalves because those two guys plugged in at center and right guard. And now you're tough up the middle. You're good on the outsides. I mean, if you had to pick the weakest of the 5 offensive linemen, you might actually say it's Braden Smith now on the outside on the right side. The Colts are strong up the middle. They run the trap blocks. They pull the guard, run the counters. They do so many things really well with that offensive line. And when they get a block, they finish the block. I mean, Bortolini has been so impressive to me because he is driving guys 4 or 5 yards down the field, completely clearing them out of the hole. Did you see a couple of the holes that Jonathan Taylor had to run through today? I mean, those were 6-lane highways that he got a chance to run through. Just an amazing job by the offensive line. Secondary, as beat up as it is, kind of held their own. It make you nervous every time you see the throw going deep downfield because you figure, oh boy, they've burned somebody. But the Colts kind of held their own. And again, Lou Anarumo and the back end of that defense is kind of playing it safe. He's not taking a lot of risk with man-to-man down the field. A lot of safety help over the top, which leaves some underneath stuff. Even some intermediate stuff was open today. But again, the Colts are playing the numbers game. They're saying that you can't get 5 or 6 first downs. You can't run 14 plays, 13 plays without us making some type of play against you, putting you behind the chains, and then we take advantage. Colts did it today. Forced Tennessee into some 4th down situations. The interception in the end zone kept Tennessee from scoring. And the Colts get the 38-14 win over the Tennessee Titans. Some numbers from this one. Jonathan Taylor, 153 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Got a kick out of the television broadcast where they talked about the fact that the rushing touchdown actually was a pass because it was flipped forward to Taylor, and he took it around the left end and got into the end zone. Yes, it was a pass play. I know it's the cheapest completion a quarterback can get when you flip the ball a foot in front of you and the guy catches it as he runs by. but that is a completed pass. It's a pass play. It's a touchdown pass for Daniel Jones. It's a touchdown reception for Jonathan Taylor. Kind of a cheap way to get it, but that's the way it goes in the book. Daniel Jones finished 21 of 29, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. Michael Pittman, 8 receptions, 95 yards. Pitt looked good. And how about Alec Pierce taking advantage of a former Colt on the outside? And Baker got on the wrong side, got on the outside of Alec Pierce on that deep ball down the right sideline, and Pierce almost boxed him out. Got position on the inside, let the ball come right into his chest and stomach, and then cradled it for that long reception. So, really good job by Pierce on that play, and of course Tyler Warren's Tyler Warren. I mean, even when he has a ball hit off his fingertips, he still finds a way to make the catch. So the Colts looked great today, and that followed up an outstanding performance yesterday by the Indiana Hoosiers. And here's the thing I want to point out. Between these two teams, you don't see this kind of consistency in college football or the NFL. Usually what happens is you have somewhere where you just don't play great football and you've got to really fight your way to a win. We saw it yesterday. Alabama struggling with South Carolina. And along the way, you're going to find weeks where you're just not clicking and you're going to have to kind of change what you normally do to try to find a way to grind out a win when you think you're going to win comfortably. That's not the case with the Colts and with the Hoosiers. When the Colts have a team they're supposed to beat easily, they beat them easily. When they have a game that's supposed to be tight, it's generally fairly tight. And yet they're still winning. And the only game they lost, they should not have lost. We're still looking back on that one and thinking they should have beaten the Rams. They gave that game away. But that's kind of the way the NFL goes. But that's the thing that's really impressive about the Hoosiers and the Colts is the fact that they are both consistently performing at a very high level. Both of them are very high level performances that they are playing with discipline, with fundamentals, their execution. They're not getting caught in trap games or down weeks. And of course, you knock on wood. Next week maybe could be a flop for both of them. But so far, both of these teams show how well they're being coached. And a lot of it, too, is the locker room leadership. I think Daniel Jones is as valuable to this Colts team for his leadership and maybe not just what he does on the field, not the rah-rah guy. I don't think he's a big talker. But I think that everybody realizes they've got the quarterback they've been wanting to find for 3 or 4 years. And so some of these guys like DeForest Buckner and Quentin Nelson and Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, some of these guys have tremendous respect for Daniel Jones, and they want to win for him because they're so glad they finally found him. And they probably didn't realize what they were getting when they found out they were getting Daniel Jones. He's not done a lot. I did mention at the time that the best year he had was when he had a dominant running back in Saquon Barkley, who was having an MVP year. And Daniel Jones did a pretty good job as the Giants quarterback that season. But I think the Colts are following the leadership of Daniel Jones. They're committing to this team. They're committing to the mental preparation. They realize their quarterback is grinding for their benefit, and they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be the reason that Daniel Jones doesn't accomplish Daniel Jones things. And so everybody working together. And right now the Colts are getting really good offensive line play. They're getting obviously great running back play. The receiving core has been, I think, better than expected. I didn't expect them to be bad. I thought they'd be pretty good. But I think they're even better than we expected because Alec Pierce, I think, has definitely taken a stride forward. Tyler Warren has been everything the Colts could have dreamed of and then some. Josh Downs, if he stays healthy, hell of a receiver in the slot. And Michael Pittman, you knew what you were going to get. I mean, Pittman is Pittman. And so you got to really like the fact that the Colts are staying as consistent as they have been. And I wonder too, change of ownership. Has it changed the culture around Indianapolis? Has new ownership changed anything in Indy? I don't know because I'm not in the locker room. I don't know the dynamic and the relationship and what that means to the players in the locker room and on the field. But certainly the Colts have done something special about halfway through the season. And again, you've got to enjoy it. A big win today, a game that really wasn't in doubt because you knew from the very beginning that the Colts were going to be able to move the football against that Tennessee defense. It was just a matter if the defense could get enough stops. And you figure along the way with that offense, they were going to get enough stops to win the football game. So you never really felt like this was a game that was in jeopardy. And the Colts get the victory. All right, so yesterday, Indiana Hoosiers against UCLA, a team that had won 3 straight games, that had won 3 straight Big Ten games, and ended up being the Fox Big Noon kickoff. Indiana did to UCLA what they did to Nebraska a year ago. Thoroughly dominated both sides of the football, dominated special teams. Indiana is the best football team in the country. Just try to debate that. Try to argue that anybody is playing as well all around as the Indiana Hoosiers. I know you could compare schedules and you could try to say, well, this team's played this team and this team. That's fine. But Indiana's kicking teams' butts, blowing them out. Illinois, blowout. UCLA, blowout. Indiana's leaving no doubt that they're the best team in the country, and yet there are still people who deny the fact that Indiana is the number 1 team right now. They just cannot get off the Ohio State high horse. I mean, I know last year the Buckeyes won a national championship. That was last year. Let's talk about this year and what this year's teams are doing. Indiana is better. Is Ohio State better? I think they're pretty darn good, but they haven't been as impressive as Indiana has been to this point. 56-6. And that was just a thorough beating. Halftime, it was 35-3. Hoosiers outscore UCLA in the second half 21-3. And Fernando Mendoza and some of the starters didn't even play the end of the third quarter or any of the fourth quarter. I saw somebody with an ignorant comment on Twitter, and I eventually decided it wasn't worth the Twitter argument to continue. I just pointed out that the Mendoza that played at the end of the game was not the same Mendoza, because I think some people that don't follow the Indiana Hoosiers may have been confused and felt like, well, Mendoza's still playing. It's the fourth quarter and they're up 50 and he's still playing. It was his brother, not him. Fernando Mendoza was pulled in the third quarter. He played roughly 2/3 of the football game, and 1/3 of the football game he didn't play. But yet there was somebody who was complaining that Indiana was showing no class by playing first-team guys when they had 49 points. Which here's another public service announcement. If you don't like the starters playing when there's 49 points and it's in the third quarter, you're not going to have starters on the bench in the third quarter. And if you don't like them playing when there's 49 points on the board, then play some freaking defense. Stop them. Did Indiana score on 7 straight possessions? I was trying to think if there was a stop in there anywhere. Because once they got going, it was just up and down the field, touchdown after touchdown. And of course, they had the pick 6 to start the football game. Aiden Fisher took in the pick 6. Hopefully Aiden Fisher is okay. banged up. Curt Cignetti didn't seem too concerned about it, but yet Curt Cignetti's not the team doctor. But hopefully, because Aiden Fisher is such an anchor of that defense right in the middle, a true coach on the field. And you've got some other guys. Kamara, he ended up going out, although he did come back. So you've got to think that he didn't have anything major. But that's the only thing right now that I think could derail Indiana. And I still think Indiana has some depth. You just don't want those guys to have to play because of injury. But Indiana has done everything you could ask of them to prove that they are the number one team in the country, and yet there's still people in denial. You know, Texas A&M has a big win over LSU. And so there were some people who swayed and said Texas A&M is now the best team in the country. Ohio State had a bye week, so Ohio State might have slipped. But in the official poll, it's still Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M. But I just think Indiana has done everything they could to prove that they're number one, probably without some help with Ohio State losing. Because everybody's like, well, they're going to play each other anyway. Why would we flip-flop them? Because if they're both 1-2 and they play each other, Indiana will have their opportunity head-to-head to prove they're the number one team in the country. Ryan weighing in, comment came in, said, agree about new ownership. She knows every name and is in all the meetings. Yeah, an owner that is very engaged in the product, very engaged in the game, wants to know everybody's responsibilities, wants to know exactly what the strategies are and why those are the strategies. Both of them are, very connected with the football product right now. Does that make a difference when the owner is that involved? Because usually what we're saying is the owner should stay back and just let the coaches coach. I don't think that's the problem. I think the coaches are still coaching. The question is, what's Chris Ballard doing? Anybody see Chris Ballard lately? Rick brings up a good point that Daniel Jones is free agent at the end of the year. And right now it looks like he's going to be able to cash in for big bucks. And I'm not sure if the Colts are going to have the money to compete for Daniel Jones. It will be very interesting because you feel like, well, the Colts can't let him get away. But this isn't college where you can go out and get a booster to cover the 20 mil or 30 mil or 40 mil that you're going to need for Daniel Jones. What happens, there's this thing called the salary cap in the NFL, and that may impact exactly what the Colts can do. But how do you not? If it happened today, how do you not have Daniel Jones as your quarterback moving forward? And then you got to figure out where are the tough decisions that have to be made to clear the salary cap space. That's exactly my point, Ryan. Got to find a way to keep him. But that's going to mean making some difficult decisions on some other players because you're going to have to free up that space. Does that mean a Quentin Nelson or Braden Smith? Braden Smith, I think at this point, you could shuffle around the offensive line and you could probably move on from Braden Smith. And I think that frees up 17, 18 million, somewhere in that vicinity. I don't think he's over 20, but I think he's very high teens that's on the books. I'd have to look it up, but I would think he would be one of the guys that you'd have to consider moving on from to free up some salary cap space. But then you'd have to figure out how you shuffle guys around. Remember, Gonzalez can play right tackle. He might have to shift out, might have to bring in a guard, whatever it might be. But bottom line is, you're probably, if you're the Colts, you've got to figure out a way that Daniel Jones doesn't go anywhere else. You've worked too hard to find your quarterback. Now you can't let your quarterback leave because of money. Once again, you can leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe while you're on the channel on YouTube. We do this. We try to do it every Sunday and connect with you live. But during the course of the week, we'll pop a video on here and there. Of course, we've got shorts that we invite you to watch. Those are just quick hit topics that we kind of cut up from some of the live videos that we do. And you can keep up with everything that's going on. By the way, we'll talk a little more on Indiana. So if you've got anything you'd like to add, please do. But I didn't want to get too far into the show without bringing up the devastating news we learned mid to late morning this morning about Nick Mangold. Boy, is that a gut punch. A guy that was a star in the NFL, outstanding offensive lineman for the New York Jets, just 41 years old, just learned in the past couple of months about his kidney disease, which I didn't even know he's been dealing with for quite a while. But it apparently got to a point where it became necessary for him to get a kidney transplant. And he put out a post a couple of weeks ago asking for some help from the Ohio State and New York Jets community to find somebody that would be willing to donate a kidney. And then we get news this morning that Nick Mangold has passed away at 41 years old, leaving behind a wife and kids. And it's just, just devastating to have something like that happen. And to know what the problem is and not have enough time to be able to solve it. You need a new kidney, and you just couldn't get one fast enough. Couldn't get someone from the family. They apparently tested the family, didn't have anybody in the family circle that would have been a donor. So just very sad news. And our thoughts go out to his entire family, his wife, his kids, everybody connected with Nick Mangold, dead at the age of 41. Alec Pierce would be another one, Rick. He's probably going to be gone. Rex Ryan. I saw the moment where they allowed Rex Ryan to have his say once they announced that Nick Mangold had passed away. And it was interesting, and I don't know if this was intentional, that they had waited 20 to 30 minutes before they actually announced it on Countdown. But Rex Ryan, certainly very emotional with his connection. He was Nick Mangold's coach of the New York Jets at the time he played for the Jets, and Rex Ryan had some very emotional comments to make in reaction to Nick Mangold's death. But once again, we would love to have you as a subscriber. We would love to have you like this. Make sure you click that thumbs up. Give us a like. Share the channel. Share the video. Bring in some new people. We're trying to get the word out that the Sports Rush is still here. We're still covering Fort Wayne and Indiana sports, mostly regional sports. We'll touch on a national topic if it's big enough. But the main thing is we want everybody to watch because they have the option to watch. And if they don't watch, it's not because they didn't know we were here. I mean, I understand we're not the cup of tea for everybody, but what bothers me is when there are those that we really meant something to them. They listened every day. We join them on their way home from work. They miss it, and they don't even know that we're doing this little show on YouTube. So please help everybody out. Spread the word. Put it out there on social media. Thank you. Appreciate it. Check is in the mail. Last night, had a chance to enjoy casino night. Now, I've talked about casino night quite a bit, and I want to talk about it a little more because we're just about ready to start the college basketball season. Excited about this roster. Best way to explain this roster is it's not a roster that's probably got first team, all conference players, but it's got a roster that could fill the entire second team unit. I think there's 5 or 6 guys that can be very productive with this Mastodons team. I don't even know which 5 or 6 they might be because you could pick from 8, 9, or even 10 that might be the guys that could be the top 5 and make a second team in the all conference selections. That's the balance this team has got. It's a roster that's been built heavily out of the transfer portal. There's a couple of freshmen, but CJ had not returned. And CJ had not last year. In fact, his first 2 years. He has been a six-man type of player coming off of the bench, brings a lot of energy, a lot of skill. A guy that was a terrific support piece with the other starters. You could play him at the 2, the 3, and he would come in, do his job, but also do it in a way that complemented a couple of your star players like Rasheed Bello and Jalen Jackson. Now he's probably going to be a significant player on this roster. When I say that, is he going to have to score, Jalen Jackson or Rasheed Bello numbers at 16, 17, or 18 points a game? Probably not. But he's capable of scoring 12, 13, 15 in that range. And I think the Dons are going to want to get that from him. He has put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. He is a bigger, stronger player than he was last year. Hopefully, too, with that added muscle, he's got himself into shape to play heavier minutes. Guys like Bello and Jackson filled up 30 to 32, 33 minutes a game. And he's going to be a very important player. But when you add to the roster a guy like Mikael Stevenson, played at Southside and then moved on and played elsewhere, but some people locally would know Mikael Stevenson from his local ties. He is going to be an igniter. I mean, the guy can take it coast to coast. He can move quickly up the court. He can attack the basket. Very athletic, can put it down with the best of them. I mean, he might have one of those poster dunks this year. Very excited to see what he does to contribute. You've got DeAndre Craig, who really came on late in the season last year at Denver. Over the last 10 games or so, I think he was averaging 13, 14, 15 points a game for the Pios. And then you've got the pro from Israel. And he played in the top Israeli Pro League, and he's done it for years. I mean, he's still a young guy, but he's a freshman according to the NCAA. But 6'7", 6'8", Yuval Levin, who is an inside-outside threat. He's a guy that's got the size to play the 5, but he's got the perimeter skills to play the 3. And so he can be used a number of different ways with a number of different lineups and looks. And you've got a similar player in Ibrahim Kaba, who comes as a transfer out of St. Bonaventure, where he redshirted as a freshman last year. But he's 6'8", almost 6'9", and he's a guy that can play the 3, the 4, or probably even play the 5 if needed. So it's an exciting, versatile roster where you could go small and quick. You could go tall and have length on the floor. But I'm excited about what this team can do. Is it going to be a finished product when the season starts? Probably not. Doesn't mean they're not capable of pulling a surprise against some stiff competition that they open the season with, going out to Grand Canyon and then moving on, game number 2 at Ohio State. That's not an easy way to start the schedule, especially when you've got a whole new roster and you're trying to develop chemistry with the 3 guys that are, that have stayed, 3 or 4 guys still here on the lineup, and you're trying to mesh them with 9 or 10 newcomers. A lot of times it's tough to have that kind of schedule to begin. A trip to Phoenix next week, and then heading to Columbus to take on Ohio State as your first 2. And then November games against Utah, against St. Louis, a Christmas week game against Notre Dame. It is not going to be an easy schedule for the Mastodons, but remember, it's not what you see in November that you should judge the team on. It is what you will see when they get into late February to March. That's what's important. And so give this team some time to play its best basketball, but it doesn't mean that it can't play good basketball and win some games along the way, and maybe even shock a team or two, because physically they're going to be big enough to probably match up. It's just a matter of how well they're gelling, connecting, because the read and react offense is not an easy offense to run, especially for new players who are playing with other players that are new, Everybody's got to be connected on that same page as far as what they're reading to and what they're reacting to. That's part of the read and react offense. And so you've got to learn a lot. And sometimes it takes time playing together before you get to where you're executing at a high level. But just talent alone, there's a lot of it. It's going to be a roster that's 9-10 deep. It's going to be fun to watch. And you're going to have your first chance to watch them coming up tomorrow night, Monday night, against the Ball State Cardinals. There's still tickets available. It's going to be at the Gates Center, so it's friendly, comfortable confines. Get your tickets. Come on out. See an exhibition game with the Mastodons versus Ball State Monday night at the Gates Center. And if you don't make it, I hope you've got a good reason, but you can always listen to the game. I'll have the call with my new color guy this year, Dean Pantazzi. He's going to be providing color on Mastodon's home broadcast this year. And so Dean and I will have the call starting at 6:45 on the home of Mastodon's basketball all season long, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Okay, let's go back, talk about Indiana. I said, I think they're the number one team in the country. Do you agree, disagree? I think they've proven they're the best team all around. I mean, they're top 5 in the country in offensive scoring. They're top 5 in the country in defensive scoring. What more do you want them to do? They've been good on special teams, block punts for touchdowns. But here's my top 10. This is my top 10. This is not the official AP poll or coaches poll or anything. My top 10. Number 1, the Indiana Hoosiers. Number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I debated this. I thought Texas A&M, Ohio State, who's done more? Ohio State's number 1 on the official polls right now. That was a very impressive win Texas A&M had against LSU. They kicked Brian Kelly's team's butt and took LSU out of college football playoff contention. How'd that move to Baton Rouge work out for you, Brian? How's the family? But anyway, I've got Ohio State number 2, Texas A&M number 3. I don't think there's a debate that those are the 3 best teams. I don't think anybody would have those 3 teams outside the top 3. All 3 of them have proven they're capable or deserving of being considered as the number 1 team in the country. But I've got number 1, IU, number 2, Ohio State, number 3, Texas A&M, number 4, Alabama. Stumbled right out of the gate, but they've been really good since. They weren't great yesterday, but they gutted out a win on the road. Got to give them credit for that. Number 5, I'm going to go with the team that's unbeaten. If nobody can beat them, that deserves some kind of a plus in my book. And so number 5, I've got BYU. I mean, they whooped on Iowa State. To me, that's a good win. And so until somebody proves that they don't deserve to be there, I've got BYU number 5. I've got Oregon number 6. Number 7, I got Georgia. Number 8, Vanderbilt. And number 9, Ole Miss. Ole Miss just has to figure out a defense because right now they can score points. They can put up points against anybody, but they give up a ton of points. And they have trouble getting some key stops. They finally got a stop in that game against Oklahoma, and they ended up winning the football game. That's all they needed. They needed to get one key stop. And then number 10, Georgia Tech, who just quietly has gone about its business and is still undefeated. Ryan agrees with me. Of course, Ryan agrees with me. Big IU fan. IU number 1, hands down. I think Ryan would agree. Penn State, try to get Lane. I think so. I mean, Lane Kiffin's a guy that has shown his willingness to move around, and I think both Florida and Penn State would at least make a call. I think, quite honestly, Florida might have a better track at Lane Kiffin than Penn State would. I'm just guessing. The LSU, they might be able to get Brian Kelly. LSU's had it with Brian Kelly. Did you see the stadium in the fourth quarter of Texas A&M LSU last night? They could have played that at Spooler Stadium out at Northrop for the number of people that decided to stick around to the end of that game. I mean, the fans are making a statement. They're done with this program under Brian Kelly. Now it's just a matter of if the administration makes that same statement. I know it's going to cost them $50 million, but it seems like teams are coming up with the money when they want to move on from a coach. And the other thing, and this is interesting because I heard this discussion, that Curt Cignetti and what he has done in Indiana has put pressure now on administrations to fire their coaches quickly and pay the fee that they've got to pay to fire the coach. The thing that Curt Cignetti did in taking an Indiana and immediately making them a national contender or a college football playoff team, whatever you want to look at, has made all of the big boosters of all of these programs, teams like Oklahoma State and LSU and Penn State and Florida, it's made them all believers that it's just a matter of going out, getting a new coach, getting him to bring in some talent, and you can turn this program from an 8-4 team into 11-1 or 12-0 just like a snap of the fingers. And so the Cignetti story is affecting how much patience some of the schools and universities are having with head coaches. Could be something behind that. Well, Purdue didn't. They just don't know how to win. And right now, they've got too many issues. Offensive line, not very good. Running game, not great. I think Ryan Brown could be a pretty decent quarterback. But you got to protect for him. You got to have receivers. But Ryan's saying that it's official on Brian Kelly. I've not seen that yet. Haven't looked. But I think that's who Ryan's referring to. But anyway, Purdue blew a lead late against Rutgers, lost a game they shouldn't have lost, and now I don't think Purdue wins another football game. Their schedule is too tough the rest of the way. I don't think Purdue is going to find a way to hit the win column with the schedule they've got ahead of them. They still have to play Ohio State. They still have to play Indiana. Just too tough for the remainder of the Purdue schedule for them to be able to find a way to a win. They had their chances with teams like Northwestern and Rutgers, and they didn't get it done. Ryan's saying it just popped up. I'm not surprised. I mean, like I said, if Brian Kelly is done at LSU, it doesn't seem like that would be a shock. He went in with a lot of vibrato and saying that he wasn't going to lose a game. All right, so we've got to keep moving. Got to talk some high school football. We had our opening weekend of sectionals. We were out at Leo, got a chance to see Bishop Dwenger. Let me tell you, that defense is strong enough to take Bishop Dwenger to a state title. The offense is just going to have to be, you know how you have quarterbacks that are game managers? You just put them out there to not make mistakes. That's kind of where I look at Dwenger. The offense doesn't have to be heroic. They don't have to make big plays. They just have to do things fundamentally. They can't have turnovers. They didn't have them against Leo. They've got to be able to move the chains on some third downs to give their defense some extra rest and time of possession. They got some third down conversions. Bishop Dwenger, that defense is totally legit. Fly to the football. They fundamentally fill the gaps. There's not places or lanes to run. They contain Nate Foster completely. Nate Foster is one of the best backs we've got in our area. He never got on track against that Bishop Dwenger defense. And I was impressed that the Saints secondary was better than I expected it to be. I thought that Leo might be able to sling it a little bit and be able to complete some passes downfield. They couldn't. And part of it is they get pressure on the quarterback. The other part is their secondary was pretty good in man-to-man coverage. And they were playing a lot of man-to-man coverage against Leo. So that Bishop Dwenger defense, very good. But the big upset in week 1, I think, was Columbia City going into DeKalb, a team that had beaten them fairly significantly during the season. And after the Barons had gotten the win over Leo to finish second in the NE8, Columbia City went in and knocked them off in week 1 of the tournament. DeKalb season ends with a 7-3 record. Columbia City moves on, and now Columbia City will be at Bishop Dwenger coming up this Friday. Also this week, we invite 5A and 6A to the party. After having a bye week last week, Carroll will go to Elkhart. You've got Northrop and Snyder. I know they play at Spooler. I'm not sure who's in the home locker room, but I know where the game is going to be played. And then you've got Homestead taking on Hamilton Southeastern, but it is at Homestead, and that is where we will be with our 1380 The Fan game of the week on Friday. It's Hamilton Southeastern at Homestead. Join us for the Parkview Sports Medicine pregame show, the tailgate pregame show starting at 6 o'clock. Griff and I on the call of Hamilton Southeastern and Homestead at 7. And it is scheduled right now at a 7 o'clock game, according to the John Harrell website. I'm not going to be surprised if that game starts at 7:30. I expected it to be 7:30. But then after the game, of course, we'll be at the Coventry Pizza Hut for your Kester's post-game show live at Pizza Hut. So big night coming up on Friday. It's semifinal week in sectionals. And then Saturday, I'm on a plane heading to Phoenix, because the Mastodons open up on Monday night against the Grand Canyon Antelopes, the Lopes, and of course coached by Bryce Drew. And the Mastodons will open up on Monday night, 9 o'clock local time here in Fort Wayne, and you can listen to all the Mastodons games at 1380 The Fan. Yeah, some pretty one-sided lines. And still seems, yeah, Georgia 7.5 against Florida does seem like a low number. But I think there's a lot of people not overly impressed with Georgia. I think they believe they're a good team, but don't add a point or two because of reputation. I think that's the problem, Mr. Vegas. When you start to look at Georgia, it's a lot like Indiana. It takes multiple showings before you start to earn the respect of the public. And I think with Georgia, what's happening is people just automatically give Georgia a couple of points because of reputation. Although 7.5 still, to me, does sound like a low number. Indiana's a 21.5 point favorite at Maryland. Wow. Notre Dame's a 29.5 point favorite. Who's Notre Dame play? I haven't even looked. Ohio State 20.5, and then Georgia 7.5 against Florida. Does seem low, but it's a rivalry game. Rivalry games are always closer than you'd expect generally. If you back me against a wall, Mr. Vegas, wanted me to bet that, I probably would go Georgia. Because Florida's had a couple rivalry games and fallen short. I'd have to go back and look up the final against Miami and others. Notre Dame plays BC. Yeah, BC's not very good. Yeah, Notre Dame will roll on BC. And right now, Notre Dame is in their playoff. That's the thing about Notre Dame. It's the playoffs for the Irish. Can't lose. Of course, Ryan's going to think IU will cover 21.5. Not even a question about it with Ryan. Big IU fan. Indiana basketball today had a really nice second half comeback against Baylor, got the win at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And I think this team is capable of surprising people. I think, first of all, much like football, Indiana found the right coach. Darren DeVries is going to be the guy that is not going to make mistakes down the stretch. He's not going to give up points from the bench. And so I think they're going to play unselfish basketball, fast pace, but discipline, limit turnovers. I think you're going to see a decent year. I'm not sure that this is going to be a Big Ten championship type team, but I think it's a team that could finish top 5 in the Big Ten. I really do, because they've got a star. Tucker DeVries is clearly a star. They've got 3 or 4 other guys that I think are really good. And I think they've got all the bases covered. They've got point guards with some quickness and speed. They've got some wings that can really shoot it. And they've got some bigs to take care of things around the basket. So I think they're a complete basketball team. I think the comeback shows the heart that they have coming back against Baylor. They were down pretty big in the first half, and then they made it a 6-point game at halftime. And then the second half outscored Baylor by 8 and ended up with the win. So a nice one for the Hoosiers today, winning by 2 against the Baylor Bears. All right, we got to wrap it up, and hope you have a great week. We're probably going to jump on at least once during this week. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow night, Monday night at the Gates Center, Mastodons take on Ball State. Hope to see you out there. And coming up on Friday, a big night of high school football with sectional semifinals. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Make sure before you leave, you do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the channel, like, and leave a comment. That's always great to do as well. And hopefully we'll be talking to you again next Sunday from Phoenix, Arizona. How about that? I'm going to try to do a show from Phoenix next Sunday. I know we're flying out on Saturday, and we'll be out there as an off day on Sunday, and I hope that I will find a place, a time, and a connection to be able to do a show next Sunday. But have a great week. Have a great sports week. Hope you've enjoyed your sports weekend. This has been the Sports Rush with me, Brett Rump, right here on YouTube.